this presentation is about really, an important question, many of us, what aspects of our teaching can we carry on as is, and what can we change as we go online or as we continue in the new normal to have maybe a blended format, depending on how, the situation is and what lessons were learned, what obstacles. I'd like it to be more of a discussion because I can see, for example, Hala just told me that she runs CBL courses in psychology. Anybody else who's done a civic engagement or a community-based component in their courses besides Hala? Mm-hmm.
I have.
Can you just tell me quickly, please, who you are and
my name is Cover. I teach in rhetoric and composition.
Okay.
So I've been engaging with refugee learners and displaced youth in learning centers for the past 15 years.
Okay.
And of course, it was a big crisis when COVID hit and we could no longer go to the schools or have the students come to us. Actually, it was a big crisis when we moved to the new campus, because on the old campus, we could walk to the refugee centers, and then suddenly we were so isolated, but we managed to find a way. And when COVID came along, we were a bit isolated. But here's what happened. I found a fantastic new learning partner, a refugee learning center in Cairo that was actually registered as an NGO, so it was legally grounded in Egypt. And they had excellent funding, thanks to some corporate sponsors. So they could afford to get their students online, which saved us.
Okay.
So what we're doing right now is we're collaborating with Duke University in America and the KWU Learning Center. And the KWU students have written their life stories, and my students and the Duke students are helping them to revise and edit their stories for publication.
Excellent. And I know, Ahmed, you teach marketing courses. Ahmed Tolbay, do you have already a community based, or are you thinking about it?
No, I'm thinking about it. I wanted to do some more activities. I do some projects, but I would like to listen more and see and seek ideas to how to.
Sure.
Expand.
And anyone else, if the other two people who came, I don't see your names, I'm sorry, if you can introduce yourselves. Waqar, Azim, no, I see the names now. Waqar and Hala, no, Hala, introduce herself. Waqar, hi.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I might have background noise, that is why I was not turning it on. No, I didn't experiment with civic engagement through online teaching, but that is one question that did pop up through the semester. So I would love to hear and, apply that learning into my classes.
All right, so very quickly then, since a couple of people have not done community-based learning, there is, CBL is simply a form of experiential learning that combines, faculty-guided community engagement with the specific learning outcomes of one's course. So it can be implemented at, across, as you see, we're multidisciplinary, across disciplines and across also levels. I've tried it at a 300 level course, which is labor economics, which has, a theory. It's quite a theoretical course, but it also has application to the Middle East and North Africa readings, and trying to understand how our theories should be adjusted when you look at real life phenomena in the labor market in the Middle East and North Africa, and especially Egypt, since this is our local context. So there is a part that is classroom preparation. I guide my students with specific, teaching assistant help. There is the part when the students would go ahead and interact in a group with the community, the NGO, or the particular project that they choose to work on. And then they're supposed to submit a guided reflection, which used to be just part of their final take-home exam, where they immediately try to apply their findings to questions, but I've changed that a bit and it became a standalone report as well as a presentation. As a guide, I expect my students in this particular course to spend in total about 15 hours in all of that. Now, according to the guidance or the toolkit we get from AUC, for our course to qualify as a community-based learning course, or for us to be really, giving the students what they expect from this component, we need to clarify very clearly to them, to the students, and to the academic community ACE engagement center. I'll share the link in the chat with you if you want to find more information from them. We need to share with them how, you know, the project is aligned with some of our learning objectives and outcomes in our syllabus. And we need to show particularly how the reflection is done, the assessment, and I'll speak about that in a minute. The idea is that, you know, in this labor economics course, for example, I'm trying to pass on to the students the importance of hearing the voices of our subject matter. So we're studying, you know, how workers behave, their preferences, the way they're treated in the labor market, the way they're compensated, whether or not they find employment, are they discriminated against, you know, how are they getting returns on their investment in education, a variety of learning outcomes. We want to empower the workers and hear their voices, you know, and not just read about them in an abstract way. There is an element of reciprocity also that should be there, in that, you know, we will identify definitely problems. Some of them are quite drastic, such as harassment or discrimination. Then, you know, what would be the solutions that we can help? So when we used to be on campus, they did interact with some of the workers on campus. So we had a way of bringing some of the problems we identified, you know, on campus in AUC. So they would work with professors, with staff, with the cleaning and other type of blue collar workers on campus. And we would be able to maybe either publish or bring some of the findings to the policymakers or campus, or to, you know, in the wider Egyptian environment, if what is needed is more than, you know, just the local environment we're looking at. And also the idea is that there will be sustainability, and if you're connected, for example, with an NGO, you can actually carry on documenting and evaluating the results across semesters. So it would not just be a one-off exercise for a particular group of students. Now, the benefits for students, I think, are even more than the benefits for faculty, but there are many benefits for faculty. You know, obviously, course like the course I'm teaching, it was very important to find ways where we can integrate theory and practice in a meaningful way. How we apply the concept learned to class to real life, how we can be critical of the theories as they apply to our, because, you know, most of our textbooks are really developed in the, you know, not just in the developed world, but in the Anglo-Saxon in particular. They're either British or American. So how are things different all over the world, at least in, you know, in the region around us, and, you know, looking at the particular context, anthropologically, socially, politically, and, you know, in our case, the particular economic development setup in our part of the world, you know, to help them formulate hypotheses, because before they go out and collect their data or do this field work, they have certain ideas from the theories, so that, you know, how to find actually a testable hypothesis, and then see if the qualitative data collected corroborates this hypothesis or not, make reasoned arguments as a result. How do you apply the data you collected? Some of them would collect quantitative or qualitative data, how to combine that and analyze it, how to interpret it, and of course, you know, the appreciation and the understanding of diversity, cultural influences, the sense of justice from the point of view of the workers, from the point of view of the employers, from their own point of view as informed observers, and of course making use of their critical skills. For me, you know, the benefits for me and for other faculty, I think, of course, is inspiration, is you get ideas, you know, for future research. It does improve student satisfaction and really learning, you know, in a concrete way. And it provides an opportunity to build partnership with some of those NGOs or government bodies that are involved in the social development, and you can use your own networks and deepen them in that way, invite guest speakers who can be, you know, you can start future projects with. For example, not myself, but another colleague in labor economics, you know, she found out from the research she got back from her students that now there's already a trend in the Egyptian labor market of the COVID and the post-COVID generation, you know, so they you know, in hiring, they say, you know, this person probably had a lower level of lower quality education because they came in the post-COVID, and there's already this discrimination, or there is this already signaling effect that is used. And this is an important area for research and maybe engagement in order to remove those issues and better inform the public. So in labor economics in particular, it was very meaningful because the latest Nobel Prize laureates, Abhijit Banerjee, Rachel Deflo, they are in economics. They really tried to promote this motto of leave the office, go to the field, and make the fight against poverty evidence-based. So the idea is that you really need to, when you look at social issues, you need to collect evidence, and evidence you're sure of yourself, and not just maybe secondary evidence. So the idea of collecting primary evidence to do cutting edge research. Now, when COVID-19 came, we already had this going for quite a few semesters. This is what made our course a capstone course. We had this qualitative data collection. It was going well. Students would organize it separately, or I would organize it through, for example, an NGO like Alashanik Ya Baladi, who's trying to match employers with potential workers from vulnerable areas. So, the students would go interview workers, match them, bring them. And this was, it involved a lot of actually one-to-one and field trip type of work. With COVID, we were given choices. We either take a break and use it as a time for reflection, try to undertake exactly the same activities in a safe way, maybe online, which would have not been possible, or completely shift the way we do things. So we opted in labor economics to shift the way to do things and go to the awareness campaign. So students were given the opportunity to develop their own topic that is related to COVID-19, coexistence with COVID-19, post-COVID-19, and try to raise awareness about an aspect that they think either the public might be not well informed or misinformed about. So they would design those campaigns using particularly infographics, share them in a social media platform, and monitor the impact of their awareness campaign and whether it really raised. And I think Ahmed, for example, from marketing would be really familiar with those type of campaigns. But now, we're using them more to highlight social and labor. So these are the possible topics they looked at. Of course, informal workers in the informal sector, how they benefited from the unconditional cash transfers that the government was giving them. Was it enough for the difficulties they faced? How sustainable it is. Women in particular, how did they cope with, if they work without contracts in the informal sector, the idea of universal basic subsidy. Refugees, which might be of interest to our colleague Brooke here.
I apologize, Mona, but I'm just referring to that we have less than 1 minute in case you want to open the floor for questions later on.
Yeah, so they would have an infographic design. This is one example of trying to raise awareness about digital literacy in Egypt, and I'm happy to share the slides with you. And then they would submit a report. They have a presentation about the objective, the target audience, the impact, and then their suggested future steps if we are to scale up what they've done at a larger level, and some of the policy implications. And I have some more ideas, for in other disciplines if you'd like me to share them, including in business. I want to just to see if you have, and this is just some feedback from the students, and ways to improve the CBL courses, and this is the link for ACE. Can I ask if you have any questions before they finish?
I just want to have a comment to Brooke, because she mentioned about the online and the cost of the internet. ACE has been providing us for the NGOs, as long as they're registered NGOs, they can provide for the internet cost.
Really?
Yeah, that was very nice. It was really
for us or for the students at the end?
No, for the NGO itself. I mean, I work with mothers, I work with children in my courses in psychology. I work in orphanages, so I have to meet these people online, and we provide them with the Zoom cost. So that is one thing. And other groups, we were working with mothers. We provided them with the WhatsApp, and this was brilliant. I never thought of using WhatsApp actually. And then I found that Media Action of BBC have been using something similar. So we used it this semester, and last semester, I'm sorry, and it was brilliant. There were more voice notes with mothers who are illiterate, and it was about positive parenting, and it worked. It worked. WhatsApp worked, and ACE paid for the internet they pay to the NGO, and the NGO reimburses the families.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so I just want to tell you about that.
Thank you.
Any other questions, particularly to my experience using those awareness campaigns? I just want to say that they were actually very effective, and they got students to really think and come up actually with the problems and ways to improve. For example, we need to find a more reliable medium to collect the responses other than social media, because it's more ad hoc. We thought of trying maybe to approach ACE for surveys, for phone in-depth interviews. We also want to seek maybe now collaboration with NGOs that would allow us to work with them online in a more, more of an online platform. But it really was very helpful in engaging the students with the subject matters we're doing, and showing how the theories are not abstract and they're really relevant to real life around us, and to speak themselves and think about how they are feeling about how the world around us is changing, because they are going to be engaged as seekers, as job seekers very soon, as soon as they graduate. And they were very interested to know what new environment is facing them, what new skills they should be thinking about. So, it was a personal endeavor for them, to also think about the sectors, what sectors are now likely to be good in job creations, others that are failing. Anyway, I don't want to keep you if you would like to move to other rooms, but I'm very happy to answer any questions. Also, I can share my email.
Hi, Mona. I have a question.
Sure.
Do you think online interviews can count towards civic engagement?
They can, provided that they are designed in the same way we design the real interviews, in the sense of asking the right questions and ensuring that the relationship between the ones that are being we selected the right subjects for interviewing. Nowadays you can also have the phone interviews with video if you would like to see the person. But given the subject matter in my class, you're dealing with a lot of vulnerable workers and people in slum areas, etc. It might be sometimes difficult